Good afternoon, traders. It's around 1 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. Wonderful week in the markets. Hope everyone made big profits. I'm going to give you a little insight at some of the main components in the stock market. First of all, we're looking at the Dow Jones right here. And we had this little 3-day sell-off, but what I wanted to point out on this was this candle right here. It's like a little topping hammer. And basically, that's a bullish candlestick, especially when we got right around the 12,000 level. We had a nice little bounce off of it, and we all know that this is a psychological level that everybody watches. Now we're right under the 20-day moving average. We might be able to get a little more upside before a second leg comes in and sells it off. Next, we're looking at the S&P 500 chart, and this one had another bullish candlestick, looks basically the same as the Dow, and we had bounced off of the 1300 psychological level that I had been calling for, 1300 to 1303, and it was a beautiful bounce, and we actually got to close above the 20 on this. As for the NASDAQ has a more bullish chart than the other ones. And we came down to the 50 and we bounced off of it. But remember the day I just showed you when we were looking at the Dow Jones, the candle, we actually finished down on Thursday session for each one. But the NASDAQ actually finished up and closed with a nice looking candle above the 50. And then we had that other move. And also notice we did poke above the 20-day moving average on the NASDAQ as well. We have this gap down around 28.15, so we're going to be watching this. If we did rally up early next week to that level and hold above the 27.70, which was right around the high dating back from around the 24th of January, we could potentially come up here, and then you might see a little selling come through. It would probably look something like this, and maybe catch support again before you get another bid. But we'll just keep an eye on these and start tracking them daily for you guys again. And then the Russell, which is a main indicator when you're watching the markets. You can't watch one and not the other, being that there's so many components in this index. We had the high, I believe the exact number was around 837. I had been calling out once we broke the 800 level that there would be a nice amount of buying come through, and that was earlier in the month. Now this 800 is a key psychological level, just like the 1300 on the S&P and the 12,000 on the Dow Jones, and we must continue watching these levels. And it was right around where the 50 was. This one looks just like the NASDAQ with the bullish bottoming candlestick that we put in Thursday's session with a strong move, and the Russell outperformed the other indexes. Sorry about that, guys, had to take a phone call. Anyways, where I left off, I believe we had this strong up move closing above the 20, and if we could get that gap fill around the 830 level, it might look something like the NASDAQ, where you come up and then have a couple of candlesticks and basically trade in the 30-point range. I'm not too sure that we're going to retest the highs just yet because of the bad news that's still within the Middle East and African markets. But there is a possibility that on this next pullback, if it gets a little deeper and we end up around the 772 level, that this will be a buying opportunity for the big hedge funds and mutual funds, which caused the markets to rise. In Friday's session, the Dow Jones got a close at 12,130, and that was up 61 points on 0.5%. S&P 500 closed at 1319, right under that 1320 level. Closed up 13 points and 1%. That's a huge move, guys. When the market was priced lower, it would be nothing to get a 2% run. But whenever you see 1% or 10 points swing range on the S&P, then that's when you know it's really good trading. The NASDAQ finished up 27.81, 43 points on 1.5%. And this was the outperformer of the day. And the SOX Semiconductor Index actually picked up. Intel had some good news on it, and a few other stocks. Euro US dollar finished down a little bit, about 0.4%, closing at 137. A couple upgrades and downgrades that I listed. I usually always read everything Goldman has to say. I mean, after all, they are the best managing firm in history for money. And they put a price target on Newmont Mining for $73.95, maintaining a buy after they reported earnings. And I'm going to have to do a complete video analysis on the gold sector because it's really important. Goldcorp, I read some of the things that the company has to offer, and they said after getting the gold out of the ground from the production and the mines and everything and making it and selling it on the market, it cost them $274 an ounce overall to get the gold out and create the bars and everything and then sell it. Gold is trading at $1,400 an ounce, so they're making $1,100 roughly on each ounce that they sell. And they said that 2011 they should come up with 4 million ounces. That's almost $500 million profit, guys. So we really got to pay attention to these. I think there could be a lot of money in these gold stocks, especially as gold continues to rise. Goldman Sachs maintains its 12-month $40 price target on FWLT, and you know we're a fan of this stock. They sold off a little bit during their earnings report, but we weren't getting long anyway. If you guys remember what I said that our alert wouldn't be at least till we got over the 200-week moving average and the 50-month moving average around the 40 level. So after they reported earnings, that's when Goldman came out and gave a positive outlook. They sold off pretty hard, but after they reported, we had a strong up move and then continuation on Friday. Right now we're hanging under a technical level. If we come back Monday and you see this little 5-day moving average cross under the 50, that won't be good. But we already know that this 34 level is going to be pretty significant since we've traded off it numerous times in the past. If we could get above and hold the 36 level, I think we're going to get a move back up to 38. Continuing on, Goldman Sachs has upgraded Wells Fargo to a buy from neutral and downgraded Citi to neutral from buy. And notice that someone else came out and downgraded the banks. But I read this whole report, and Goldman thinks that Wells Fargo is going to be the overall winner in the banking sector due to a dividend raise and a few other positive comments that I will not disclose right now. Weak performance. Basic materials were the only ones that managed to edge a gain. And a lot of the hedge funds are actually saying that this next quarter is going to be an upside surprise for the basic material. So we're going to have to pick some good stocks out of this sector that we're going to have to watch closely. Next, we had utilities, then healthcare. Worst performing sector were industrial goods, services, and financials. Also, another thing to note, Kellogg came out during this big pop, and that's unusual for a small moving stock in price increments to pop this much, even on an earnings play. The reason they popped is they said for the first time in 16 months they came out and they raised their prices, and it did not hurt earnings. They sold the same amount of stuff as if the prices were the same. So what's that mean? I guess we have to look into all the commodities, which I will not go into right now, but look at Mosaic, for example. As commodities continue to rise, we're going to continue to use more chemicals and fertilizer to grow the crops. And you see, when we came down to this trend line, we bounced right off of it perfectly, got above the 50, and you see this is the day that we went from 76, and it was a 5-point down move, then a 6-point up move, and we've continued to rise to get a close at 84.93 on Friday. This is a strong stock. I continue my overweight rating, and this was a buying opportunity for anyone that had extra capital. Starting next month, I'm going to start sending out brochures, kind of their booklets of individual companies for free. I'll pay for the postage and everything just because I want you guys to really read up and get a feel for exactly what these companies do. It will help you in your trading. Even if you only follow, 2 or 3 different stocks, you should know everything about them. You should know when they report. You should know all of the financial officers, all the upgrades and downgrades, what's the average volume. You shouldn't have to look it up. If someone asks you, hey, tell me a little bit about Mosaic, you should be able to go into detail and describe everything. That's how you become a fundamentally strong trader. And that, combined with technicals, will make you far more superior than anyone else on the street. Even these guys that work at the big banks. Probably 60% of them are the guys that work 8 to 5 and then go home and do nothing else. It's the other 40% that really prevail in this business, and they're doing what I'm explaining to you right now. So if you would like a brochure, write the company. It might take me 2 weeks to get it to you because I have to order it, and I will send it to you. I won't give your information out to anybody, don't worry. And I'll pay for it. I really want you guys to learn more about this business. But I'm going to wrap this video up now. I have some family events to take care of, and I'm going to get you another video out on Sunday. That's going to be the watch list for next week because there is going to be a lot of volatility in the markets. Hope you guys enjoy your weekend and have a good day.